Sitting on a beach, or fishing at the lake, or just taking a break. The countdown clocks have started, fight songs pass the time. The days may run together, but you know that in our mind it's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Give me those 12 Saturdays. Spot the ball. Madness is a blast, and we love baseball games, but nothing beats the feeling of having a killer slate of games. It's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Dreaming of all Saturdays. Spot the ball. Spot the ball. Oh, college football. Sat out your day. It's for the large and for the small. Lay a big hit and pass a kick the ball. This game is for us all. From Seattle down toward the Keys, this game is you, this game is me. Cats, dogs, and steer, be the tree. This game is America, so sing it loud with me. College football forever. College football forever. Downtown LA, Starkville City. 1 week you're up next, take a dip, run the rock, or let it rip. This game is America, all say, can you sing it with me?
We just stepped on her face with a hot-tail Logan broke her nose. Whoa, Nelly!
College football forever. College football forever. College football forever. College football forever.
College football is a year-round discussion with these two. Here's JC and Morgan. Mike Morgan of ESPN and JC Sherbert of 24/7 Sports have you covered, beginning right now.
And good morning. Welcome one, welcome all. It's another installment of JC and Morgan, presented and powered by Advocare, advocare.com. Save yourself 20% on all terrific items right now with promo code Mike Morgan. You can go ahead and get your Spark. You can go ahead and get your helped in gummies in terms of sleeping, daily vitamins, rehydrate, kind of like Gatorade, but without all the sugar. Spark has no sugar, just great products that you can get delivered to your door without, again, Meathead Mickey at the local GNC. Don't have to deal with Meathead. Just go ahead and deal with yourself, and it's delivered to your door in days, advocare.com. He's JC Sherbert. He's powered by a lot of things, some of which we can't reveal. We don't have national security clearance for that, but trust me, he's up and ready to go. And
coffee and green tea today because my Spark is en route. So
good. Good. We're having a conversion.
Mike. I trust you, my friend.
You try. Follow the light, JC.
I love the products that Morgan brings to the table. So.
Hey, I think my batting percentage is pretty good on that. Better on that than some other things, including predictions on college football. But that's a whole other story. Mad Dog Phil Molinax is our producer. He's behind the scenes. It's it's a Tuesday morning, as we do this each and every day around this time throughout the season of college football. We have 3 weeks in the books, 4 if you want to include week 0, and this is what we do every year, JC. We kind of just chip away and try to solve the great riddles that surround teams, players, coaches in the sport of college football. One of those riddles, 2 of those riddles have been solved, and that is, who are the best people to lead their respective programs of UCLA and UCLA and Virginia Tech? And Deshaun Foster and Brett Pry have been whacked before week 4. There was a time you would never fire, unless there was just a brutal scandal, you would never fire 2 coaches that early. And I don't pretend to know these gentlemen, but from all indications, they're 2 quality human beings. I know of Deshaun Foster a little bit from his days as an assistant coach at the Carolina Panthers, which really was the most qualifying thing he had for that job. I can't find much else. It was kind of a desperation heave. They didn't expect Chip Kelly to leave for a coordinator job at Ohio State. He did. They panicked. They brought in a guy who was just completely over his skis. And then Brent Pry, Virginia Tech, another guy, I don't know him. Seems like a quality human being, but it wasn't getting done in Blacksburg, and let the rumors begin over there. But Virginia Tech has been one of those programs. We got to come up with another term for the glossary, JC, because we have that glossary. We have terms. What did I added last week for the buyouts, which are always in conversation this time of year. That's a failure check. You got to write a failure check when you have to pay a big buyout. Neither one of these coaches had big buyouts, by the way. Relatively speaking, they were both in single digits in the millions as opposed to double. But I love using the term volcano programs that every now and then they go dormant, they hit a rough patch, but then there's so many things going for them, they're about to burst. Miami and Florida State, prime examples this year. I don't know if I would say the opposite of volcano program for UCLA and Virginia Tech, because I'm not convinced they are going to find that molten lava and explode again and be nationally relevant for big prizes, because I think there's a lot of things going against those 2 programs. We'll talk about that. We'll get to the JC5. We've got G5 John. I actually saw G5 John in person for the first time in a while. He will chime in with his top G5 teams, and we'll also have the boss top individual efforts from the weekend in college football. With all that, the future Spark candidate, the man of the people from parts unknown, with is that a staircase behind you? What exactly is that in your?
I would call it a virtual staircase. Maybe.
Okay. Stairway to Heaven, perhaps.
So weird. Good tune.
Yeah.
Good tune. One of the GOAT rock anthems, Stairway to Heaven.
Met Robert Plant at a hotel bar, the Lowe's in Nashville.
Wow.
He didn't really want to socialize.
I met Little Richard in Nashville. Similar kind of stuff. We were having a 24/7 sports conference, and we had kind of the welcome meet and greet right there in the lobby of the Hilton. And Little Richard comes in there with his folks. He's in a wheelchair. Didn't look too good, but I didn't approach him. Other people did, and probably similar circumstances.
Yeah.
But I just I don't know why that popped in my head. So you never know who you're going to meet in Nashville, and you got a chance to meet Theo Vaughn this past weekend.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. So as part of Elite Media Network's Game of the Week, called the South Carolina Vanderbilt game, which kind of a shocking turn of events in Columbia, the way that game went. But on the sideline pregame, and there's Theo Vaughn of podcast fame. I haven't seen a ton of his stand-up, and I love stand-up comedy in general, but I've certainly caught quite a bit of his podcast and enjoy his work, and just seems like a good dude. I've talked about this before. Sometimes the people you think that are somewhat famous, and you really grow to love them, and you think that they're going to be this terrific person, and then you meet them in person, you're like, oh, well, that was a disappointment. What an a-hole. Anything but that. he was terrific. He is on the field, and I'm on the field, and I'm walking around and doing my thing, and I was going to get ready to talk to him, and eventually I did. But he sat there in the student section. Once people figured out who it was, there must have been over 100 kids that came up to get his selfie. Nobody wants autographs anymore; they want selfies. He sat there and posed for every one of them. He was not going to walk away until everybody that walked up said, "Can I have a picture? Can I have a picture? Can I have a picture?" And for each one, he gave like an exuberant smile or pose. Like he didn't half-ass it. I have so much respect for people that do that. He even had little conversations here and there with them. Did the same thing with me, but more importantly, he did it with all of the students that lined up and went to do that. So yeah, that was very cool. It's kind of funny, JC. Like I never know. I get a chance to meet a lot of people in this business, and doing what I've done over the years, I've seen some pretty cool athletes and coaches, but I never know who I'm going to meet that I find intriguing from outside of the sports world, and he's one of them. Can I just quick moment for Robert Redford? You just told me this before we went on the air. Robert Redford passed away. Not a shocking thing because of his age, but it just feels a little weird that it kind of felt like he was like timeless. Like Robert Redford would just live forever, right?
Yeah, many good movies. And The Natural is probably a little less than a dime or more than a fiver for me. Wilford
Yeah,
Brimley
I'm with
did a
you.
terrific job in that one. And I love me some Wilford Brimley, as you know. But the soundtrack for it, I mean, man, nothing gets me more fired up for baseball than that soundtrack. That's a majestic soundtrack. And he was obviously in a lot of different good films and was involved with film festivals and really the whole craft. So certainly he will be missed.
Yeah, 89. I think of two movies when I think of him, one of which I'm embarrassed to say, but I do think of Indecent Proposal. That's a fiver. Like when it's
That was a
on,
really good movie.
it's a
Yeah,
good
I
movie. I
hate to
mean,
admit
it's
it. My
it's
man
kind of
card is
trashy.
suffering, but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of trashy. It's peak Demi Moore, and I mean peak. It's Woody. I like Woody. It's not the role you would expect for Woody Harrelson, but I thought he played it really well. And then it's Robert Redford just being Robert Redford, and the whole thing, $1 million for one night with your wife. It had everybody talking, kind of like Fatal Attraction did. It was one of those movies that you couldn't escape it. And then the other one is All the President's Men. As you know, I am a big post World War II contemporary American history buff of sorts. When I was young, I could care less about history. I slept through it all, pulled a bunch of C's, did just good enough to pass. Never been a big history guy. And then as I got older, I was like, no, I'm fascinated by the 60s, the 70s, and All the President's Men. While it is remarkably inaccurate, and if you really do a deep dive on Woodward and Bernstein, those two guys are not the heroes that they're made out to be in the movie, but it's still a really well done flick, a really, really well done flick. And I thought that was easily his best movie. I never got into the Westerns. So for those that are saying, what about, it's just not my thing. Same thing with Eastwood. Like I never got into the Westerns. I'm sure he was in a bunch of really Sundance, the Cassidy Kid,
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance.
Thank you very much. Never saw it. Never saw it. So I know a lot of people, especially of a certain age, are like, "What about that, Mike?" I'm sure it's a great movie. I never saw it. I'm sorry. Anyway, R.I.P. Redford. Okay, JC. Takeaways, big picture, week 3 before we dive into the JC5.
Well, I mean, there were some surprises and some not. I thought, there's certain temperature checks for various programs around the country, and some are very healthy and doing well through 25% of the season. Some are not. That's a very Captain Obvious statement, but You got the Aggies going on the road to South Bend. I mean, what a great performance by their offense. I mean, Marcel Reed 17 for 37, but threw for 392 yards and a clutch touchdown to win the football game to the tight end. Texas A&M, to me, you got to watch your defense a little bit. They lost a lot of players off defense last year, and I know we know Mike Elko could definitely coach that side of the ball and all that, but I would be a little concerned moving forward. On the opposite end, I think Florida's defense, which if you think back to the finish they had last season, Mike, their defense really, I mean, against Ole Miss, LSU, down the stretch, Tulane in the bowl, they shut them down. That was kind of the difference. I think, in 5 interceptions against LSU, that's and I got that in the JC5 for DJ Lagway. That's disappointing for them. You mentioned the Virginia Tech and UCLA jobs coming open. Talk about that, but you can't get blown out at home by Old Dominion if you're Virginia Tech, and you can't get blown out at home by New Mexico if you're UCLA. I mean, we're not talking about powerhouses there. So that was something that was a little bit. I mean, as far as the label goes for our glossary, and then we can get to the JC5. UCLA and Virginia Tech are, and I do have a question for you about these jobs, but they're fundamentally different. I'd rather be in Virginia Tech's position than UCLA's, just because of how it sets up. We don't know what life in the Big Ten is going to bring for UCLA. It's a different animal than the Pac, as we know. You can ask the team across town about that last year. Virginia Tech's in the ACC. Obviously, they're raising money, and there's a lot going on there that they're trying to do to fix it. I still think that could be a good gig, but they may be what I would call, maybe right now, a one moment in time. Yeah, that song, One Moment in Time.
Of course.
Moment in time. What is that from? Fievel, An American Tale? Is that what that movie? I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get back off of movies. But anyway, where you have a coach that's really,
you're going to
really
anger
good.
Jay, who wants to talk nothing but sports today.
I understand. But
Sorry,
it's like, so with remember Kansas State, Snyder retires, Ron Prince comes in. It's a disaster for 3 years. Snyder comes back, they keep winning. Kleiman, even though they've started bad, he's continued to win. Kansas State's continued to be the Kansas State we know despite their start this year, right? And so that had a chance to be a one moment in time program, but it hasn't been, and to their credit. But there's other schools that are out there that I'm sure if I thought hard about, you could point to and say, well, they had the guy, and then they haven't recaptured that magic, and it's only happened once. Virginia Tech, out the Beamer era was obviously the golden era. Before that, after that, not so much. But so that could end up being where they're labeled in our glorious glossary of college football terms, a one moment in time program. And sometimes you don't get that back. Sometimes you don't get it back.
Yeah. UCLA wouldn't be a one moment in time program.
No,
because they've had more than one moment. But I do think, even though you could not find two more diametrically opposed cities than Blacksburg, Virginia, and Los Angeles, but I think for different reasons, geography, which is so huge in college football, I say it all the time, never underestimate your location. Location. It's big in recruiting. It's big in history and tradition. It determines somewhat what conference you're in, a lot of things. I think being in Blacksburg hurts Virginia Tech in this day and age of NIL and everything else. And I think UCLA, believe it or not, its location combined with they're a distant second to Southern Cal, who looks like to have a bounce back year. We'll see how they do the next couple of weeks. I don't think location is on the side of UCLA. They're in the abyss, and they're in an area. If you've been to Los Angeles, it's very much a pro town, and Southern Cal is their pro football team, not UCLA. I don't know what UCLA is. I don't know where it fits. You turn on sports talk radio in UCLA and Los Angeles or Southern California in general, they don't talk UCLA a bit. I work with one UCLA graduate. There's another one that used to do sports talk radio in Atlanta by the name of Randy Cross, former offensive lineman for the 49ers. And they all say the same thing, money. They are just in they're always hemorrhaging money. I don't know how. I don't know what goes on over there. You're in the Big Ten. You should be flush with cash, but for whatever reason, they are not.
Yeah.
All right. I know what is flush with cash and is moving up the stock market. If you bought low on the JC5, your 401k is looking outstanding. And at a time where the morale of a great nation could definitely use a boost with all the crap and wackos out there, we need more than ever another JC5.
For the top topics in the sport, we bring the JC5. Number 1.
All right, the ACC. Some of the teams we thought were going to be pretty good or somewhat good, they have kind of fallen a little bit. Clemson obviously lost a second game, and they lost to Georgia Tech. I don't know that the Tigers are, nobody needs to be playing a tiny violin for them. I think they'll rebound, and that was just a tough loss. Kid hit a 56-yard field goal. It was a great college football game.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, Mike, it looks like Miami and Florida State are the class of the league. Pitt had a bad loss in the backyard brawl. Boston College lost to Stanford. I didn't know. I wasn't bullish on Stanford winning a single game. And so how do you kind of see this league right now, 25% of the way into the stadium? Would you agree that as of this moment, the Canes and the Noles are sort of the teams that look the best?
I do. Now, Georgia Tech has the easiest path. If you look, they don't play Miami or Florida State. If you look at the rest of their schedule, holy smokes. It is a follow the yellow brick road straight into Charlotte for the ACC championship game. But I'm with you. I think Miami and Florida State, I'll be calling that game, by the way, more on the Elite Media Network. That could be a top 10 showdown with game day in town if Miami takes care of business against Florida. And I believe Miami will. I think Miami's legit. I think that offensive line combined with Carson Beck having a renaissance, if you will, they're very much a quality team. Again, they don't have Cam Ward, but maybe they're just a tick better than they were last year. And Florida State, it shouldn't be shocking that Florida State is good. They had a season last year. Obviously, they failed miserably in the portal. And then you had, I'm convinced this happens. I mean, I think it just happened for UCLA and Virginia Tech. Players they'll fold the tent sometimes. Certain kids, it's not in their DNA to just fight hard, fight. Never going to move the ball and never going to, a little Newt Rockney there. Sometimes when they sense that there's trouble in the air, they mail it in. And I thought Florida State mailed it in last year. They weren't good, but they weren't 2-10 bad. A lot of those kids just mailed it in, and some of those kids, many of them are not around anymore. Now you've got a fresh lease on life. Florida State is one of those volcano programs, in my estimation, and they have erupted again. And they have the right quarterback, the right OC, and Gus Malzahn, who wasn't exactly lighting it up at UCF as a head coach, but man, oh man, he still can dial up some ball plays if he has the right quarterback. So, yes, long answer to your short question. I think Florida State, Miami are the two best teams in that conference. And I think for Clemson, it is take a look in the mirror and figure out what's going on. This is where like HR comes in and they want like a performance review. They put you on a Zoom and they say, hey, we need to, just so you know, for the next 30 days, we'll be watching. We want to know what your day looks like. When you go to the office, are you checking your fantasy football stats, or are you making the company better? Are you filing those TPS reports? I think you're running out of reasons why. And I refuse to believe, JC, it's just the portal, that they're not more active in the portal. But you're running out of reasons why you have clearly lost a step. Now, Dabo will be quick to point out, and he's right, they're still going to win a lot of games. They're not going 5-7, right? And they very well might wind up in the ACC title game again. I don't know. They've got a lot of talent, but it's not necessarily translating in some of these bigger games. And you don't have to apologize for losing at Georgia Tech, but something just seems different. I get it. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, those are generational talents that they helped win a national title each with. But I think it's more than just that. Cade Klubnik to me hasn't gotten better in 3 years. I don't know. When I'm watching him, I feel like I'm failing to see why he is so great, because I watch a lot of quarterbacks on Saturdays in college football, and I don't see him as one of the better ones.
Number two.
Number 2.
All right, you know who is off to a good start, and maybe this is another glossary term like the JC offseason boost, because we randomly brought them up one day. And I think it was after week 0 when Stanford lost to Hawaii. It's like, well, the other ACC team in the Bay Area, boy, they don't have a lot going for them. What about the Cal Bears? Lo and behold, Mike, 3-0. And this is why this is significant. They beat Oregon State, their former brother, in the Pac-12, had another win. And then Minnesota, right? PJ Fleck, they don't get upset a whole lot. They pull upsets, and Cal beat them 27-14. Their freshman quarterback, Jaron Kiwe Sagapultele.
Not
gonna work here anymore, you know. But all right, so this guy's from Hawaii. He's a true freshman quarterback. He won the job. You know, sometimes in Hawaii, those players out there get overlooked because nobody goes there to scout them. Oregon was fortunate to get Marcus Mariota, and Tua was obviously known on the mainland and all that. But this guy's a baller. 24 for 38, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And the Bears are 3-0. Now, I think they've got a pretty good coach. I think they do overachieve. But your thoughts on Cal and their hot start? Was it my magic, or is it that this kid, everybody talked about losing Mendoza to Indiana or whatever through the portal? This kid's pretty good.
I'll be honest with you. They have been completely off my radar. As a program, it's another one of those where what happened to Cal? You know, this is the whole demise of the pack. Is that you had programs. It wasn't all, excuse me, it wasn't all Southern Cal, Washington, UCLA. It was hidden programs like Cal that would pop every now and then, that would put together an Aaron Rodgers type talent, a Marshawn Lynch, what have you. Like, they were relevant, and then all of a sudden they weren't, and then they were just awful. But they still get some athletes. You know, Jay Knott hasn't done a whole lot, but he's the big running back transfer that Oklahoma got from Cal. Cal always seems to have some good skill players. There's just so many of them, as you well know, in the state of California. So I don't know what to make of it, because I don't know what to make of Cal. I don't think they're a legit threat in the ACC. But the fact that they're pulling off some upsets, I hate to sound, like a pat on the head. Good for you. Good for you. I'm the little man. Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, I think it's a nice story, but I got to be honest. I have not done. Forget about deep dive. I haven't even gotten into the shallow end, JC, with Cal Berkeley.
Number 3.
All right, we brought it up earlier, and you alluded to it, but I want to pin you down. What's the better job, Virginia Tech or UCLA?
As I mentioned, I don't think either one is great. But I will say Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech is certainly committed. They're vested. There's not this feeling of a rudderless ship like there is at UCLA. Like, I don't know who's running things over there. Stanford has their face man and Andrew Luck and Ron Rivera. At least they're trying to have some big names that are theoretically running it. I think Virginia Tech can still be relevant. I don't think they're ever going back to what Frank Beamer did there is one of the best long-term coaching jobs of our era, quite frankly. As you mentioned, they were nothing before Frank. And you know what I know about pre-Frank Beamer Virginia Tech football? I know one name, Bruce Smith.
Oh, yeah, Bruce Smith was really good.
I know Bruce Smith, Hall of Fame defensive end. He was like the first player that I remember in the NFL. Like, oh, he went to Virginia Tech. But Frank took it to another level, and it wasn't just 2 years of Mike Vick. They were good a lot of the time under Frank Beamer. I don't know if they ever get back to that. I just don't. But I will say Virginia Tech, path of least resistance. There we go. I'd rather be Virginia Tech in the ACC as a coach than coaching UCLA in the Big Ten, where I'm playing Southern Cal, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. I realize you don't play all those in 1 year, but you play some combination of them. So I'll go Vatech. What about you? What do you think?
I think it's Virginia Tech as well, just because it's a different world than the Big Ten that they're in. But geography has always been a challenge there. I mean, one of the kind of the jokes around the campfire there is that, man, all these players from the coast of Virginia, which is a critical recruiting area for them. Michael Vick was there. Macho Harris is from. I mean, you name Tyrod Taylor. You name your great Virginia Tech player. There's a 50% chance they're from 757. There you go. And they have to drive through Charlottesville to get to Blacksburg. So I mean, before Frank Beamer, Bill Dooley, Vince's brother and Derek's uncle, was the coach there, and he did some good things. 86 was his last year. They were 10-2-1 and won the Peach Bowl, but kind of like an off the field NCAA deal did him in. He was hired at Wake Forest shortly thereafter, and actually got the Demon Deacons to a bowl in 1992. And was ranked in the top 25. Bill Dooley could coach. He was North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest were his three schools. But that was when they were an independent. It was kind of a long slog, winning seasons. Like in 83, they went 9-2, did not get to a bowl. Things were kind of just different back then. But yeah, it wasn't like the Hokies were they've always had great fan support, and it's basically the State University of Virginia, because UVA is a public Ivy and very limited admissions and kind of just a smaller school, even though they got the flagship title. It's almost like the dynamic in Pennsylvania with Penn and Penn State, except Virginia plays high-level intercollegiate athletics. So Virginia Tech's got a ton of alums in D.C. and across the state, a big fan base. There's a lot that works for it, and it's not like there's been schools that are geographically isolated that haven't had success before. But I'm with you. With UCLA, if they were in the Pac-12 still, I would probably say, you just have more access to talent right there in Los Angeles. It's LA. I've seen coaches like Jim Mora go there and do big things recruiting wise and get players and all that. I think Chip Kelly leaving threw the whole thing into chaos. And then unfortunately, Deshaun Foster wasn't the answer. So, I just, in the Big Ten, that's a tough hill to climb. Not just because there's a lot of good programs in the Big Ten, because of the style of play and the travel. I mean, that's, Southern Cal's off to a pretty good start. Won at Purdue this weekend. But we'll see how they hold up. I mean, it's just a different type of ball, and you can ask the Nebraska Cornhuskers about going into that league and how different it is. I just don't know that UCLA is prepared to take that next step. But and you mentioned the money and sort of, I don't want to say mismanagement, but that's always been an issue there. And so who knows what will become of them. But if I'm, making a binary choice, I'm taking Virginia Tech.
Number 4.
Notre Dame. Would you agree 0 margin for error if they want to make the playoff?
Oh, 1,000%. Notre Dame gets the benefit of the doubt at 10-2, which will drive people crazy. But that's the reality. But at 9-3, they don't. I don't think so at all. 9-3 with no conference championship game. No, I think they're out. A lot of people have a huge problem with them still being in the top 25. I think it's the first two-loss team at this stage to still be in the top 25 in like 40 years or something. Honestly, I don't have a massive problem with it because I want to encourage Notre Dame, because they don't have to play the kind of games that they have lost. Right? Like I want to see them do that. I want to see them play a Miami and a Texas A&M early in the year, as opposed to just cakewalking teams. I'm okay if you want to keep them low in the. Again, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to get all bent out of shape about a poll that means virtually nothing. So go ahead, keep them in low, and if they win 10, yeah, they're getting in. But where it does matter, if they're 9-3 and they're on the committee floor for review, no, I don't think they should be in. I think at that point there's not enough meat on the bone. I don't believe so. I mean, what would be their best? Give me if they went 9-3, JC. Give me their best 3 wins of the 9. I put you on the spot there, but I know you.
No, I'm looking at their schedule.
Okay.
I'm looking at their schedule, brother. Well, Southern Cal is 3-0, right? See, you have some programs that are left for them to play that right now have done well through 3 weeks. Southern Cal, the USC, the Trojans. I know they don't like being called Southern Cal. The University of Southern California. How about that? Boise State is a home game in a couple of weeks. They play at Arkansas. So NC State's still undefeated. Then after that SC game, though, man, it's at Boston College. Navy comes to town. It's at Pitt. Brutal loss for them. Syracuse comes to town. And they finish up at Stanford. So if they can somehow find a way to get through these next few games undefeated, and NC State continues to be good, Boise State has a good year, and the Trojans end up with a big year as well. I at 10-2, yeah, they could still make it. But and look, as far as them being ranked, look, they've lost one game by 3 points and one game by 1 to 2 really good teams. So, and they have a redshirt freshman quarterback, and their defense gave up a lot of big plays to Texas A&M. So
that might have been the best game of the weekend.
Oh, it was 41-40, dude. And 13 seconds left, and Marcel Reed is, sometimes people criticize his throwing ability, and he was 17 for 37, but boy, he big played them to death. And that receiver they have, what's his name? Mario Caver.
He is in the boss. He is 5'9", 165 pounds. Mario Craver is.
Yeah, sorry about that.
7 grabs, 207 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged just under 30 yards a catch.
Baller.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So,
all right, is that
number 5?
Here we go.
Okay, so we talked about DJ Lagway's 5 picks. All right, LSU's got Southeast Louisiana this weekend. Then they go to Ole Miss, which could be problematic because the Rebels, of course, can score. We know that at the very least they can, and they had a nice win over Arkansas this past weekend, high-scoring game. Is it time to be concerned about LSU's offense? I'm not saying Garrett Nussmeyer's not playing well. They just haven't been scoring a lot. He scored 17, 23, and 20. Your thoughts about LSU start on the offensive side of the ball? Because I think the defense looks terrific. It's what we're accustomed to with LSU. But should there be some slight concern in Baton Rouge about the way they've been trying to score points?
Where have you gone? Joe DiMaggio, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Okay, more of the last 2 than Joe D. Where have the just can't miss top 10 wideouts that always seem to be at LSU? Where are they? Burrow had them. Other quarterbacks have had them there. I can keep going, by the way. Thomas is already doing well in the NFL. Brian Thomas. There's one I just forgot. But they've got, if watch the NFL on Sunday, and you can just throw a rock and hit another former LSU wide receiver that became a first-round pick in the NFL. I don't know if they have that. I don't know if they have that. Malik Neighbors. Thank you. Sam, our great audience, chiming in and
Thank you,
helping
Sam.
me out there in a time of need. Yeah, no, I'm not making excuses for Garrett Nussmeier. Look, Garrett hasn't been bad. Here's what I've noticed, JC, about SEC quarterbacking play, because it has a chance to be a memorable season. But what is up is down, what is down is up. It's bizarro world SEC quarterback play. The most hyped guys coming into the year, Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, Garrett Nussmeier, and Lenoris Sellers. I don't think any of them have played up to their level yet. I don't think, and it's all for different reasons. And with the exception of maybe Lagway, none of them have been awful. Even Arch Manning, I mean, people want to tee off on him because he's a Nepo. People don't like Nepo babies. They don't like those stories. There's a lot of people, for being honest, that want Arch Manning to fail. And I don't just mean people that hate Texas. But Arch Manning goes 10 straight incompletions. DJ Lagway throws 5 picks. Lenoris Sellers hasn't been terrific. He's hurt. Hopefully he'll be back this weekend for a big game at Missouri. And, Nussmeier, just he's been good, but not great. Like, none of those guys, all those guys run a Heisman Trophy list. I got news. I don't think any of them are winning it. Unless Nussmeier and LSU, really start humming, I don't see any of the guys on that list winning a Heisman Trophy, which means there's going to be some interesting names in New York for that. And then you look at the guys that are lighting it up, JC. Joey Aguilar, Ty Simpson, Talon Green, Marcel Reed. I get it. Completion percentage not great, but as you mentioned, he's a big play demon. And, of course, Diego Pavia, who we always talk about with kind of like he's good, but no, he's just good. So it's really been a strange year of quarterback play in the SEC. I would also add Gunnar Stockton, who was so clutch in that game against Tennessee. I mean, some of his own fan base doesn't like Gunnar Stockton, but Gunnar Stockton has played at a very high level this year in Athens.
Yeah, shout out Mike Bobo, the oft-maligned OC at Georgia. They had to win that game on offense Saturday, and they did.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee's injuries in the secondary really hurt them, but sometimes good coaches, it's not that hard. You got some guys out back there, you go after them, and hats off to them. They did.
Yeah. And the one guy, by the way, I didn't mention who I need to before Sooner Nation gets on me. Yeah, I mean, we thought that Mateer would be really, really, really good, and he has been really, really, really good. That kid's a baller. He's a poor man's Baker Mayfield, and I mean that as a compliment, not as something negative at all. He's actually lived up to the hype and then some. And a lot of people doubted him because he was a transfer from Washington State. Who do they play? Just wait till you get to the SEC, boy. You're going to be humbled. And he hasn't been humbling. He's been humbling other people, and so too have Oklahoma. Oklahoma and Auburn, big matchup on Saturday with two of the most improved teams in the Southeastern Conference. All right, good stuff on the
Jackson Arnold Bowl.
The Jackson Arnold Bowl, yeah. Who's running great. I mean, they got these two incredible wide receivers, but they barely use them. He's running all over the field, which is fantastic. And if Auburn's winning, no one's going to question it. The moment they lose a game, if Jackson Arnold throws for a $177, that's going to be brought up. That
game, if I'm Auburn's defensive backfield, that's they gave up a bunch of passing yards in that opener you saw, and you kind of worry about that happening out there. That's a key matchup to kind of look at.
No doubt. All right, we will come back. We'll look ahead to Week 4 in college football. We've got G5 John, and we've got the Boss, which we've already mentioned some of those great performances over the weekend. JC and Morgan, powered by Advocare, and Advocare.com rolls on in a moment.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cars while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products in out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks!
Hey, folks, want to tell you about our friends at Titan Construction Group really quick. They're a mid-Atlantic based general contractor, specializes in retail, restaurant, and office construction. TCG strives to separate itself from other general contractors by adding value every step of the process. From project budgeting to estimation, value engineering to construction, they focus on those relationships and not the transaction. Titan builds partnerships one project at a time. Among their clients are Starbucks, Crumble Cookie, Blake Pizza, Home Goods, 15 plus years experience, based in Midlothian, Virginia, and contracted in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So get on their website, TitanCGinc.com. That's TitanCGinc.com. Get in touch with Brad if you're in need of a general contractor that focuses on going above and beyond for their clients. That's Titan Construction Group, a proud sponsor of the JC and Morgan podcast.
We're passionate about making sure that the Nest and Wild mattress is the best it can be. Made well and made right. Right here in Tupelo, Mississippi. So how can we do all that? Work. Hard work. And that means something. The Nest and Wild mattress is a movement. It's a pride in where you come from and where you're going. So get comfortable, because this movement is just beginning.
This is JC Morgan on the Chief Sports Network.
College football forever.
And we are back. It is JC and Morgan, presented by and powered by Advocare and Advocare.com. Quick answer to a question from our man Hayne in the chat box. Mike, what's the story with that hat? I like it. The story of the hat, Hayne, is I'm not pimping this. JC usually has like a sponsor hat. This is not a sponsor. I don't know much about the company. I got this at a boat show in Palm Beach, which they have once a year, where they have these ridiculous yachts that millionaires and billionaires own. And you just look at it and you go, wouldn't that be nice? And then you say, how much is that canoe over there? And they were giving this away. Wave is it's like a GPS for boaters, I think. I think it's like an app where you can kind of find your way around the ocean. I believe that's it.
They have a Wave app for car traffic too, so maybe it's the same.
That's Waze.
I am an idiot.
W-A-Z.
I need to tighten up a little bit there.
Well, you're on the right.
I'm on the right track. Come on,
yeah.
I can remember football scores from 1987, and like on another show, I said this the other day. I was like, it's like running Windows 95. I'm not really mathematically brained, so
right
scores and stats tend to take up an abnormal amount of
memory
space in my head.
And
so I just don't function properly.
No, well, that's just like I always say. If somebody's impressed by some random fact that I remember in college football. Like, man, how do you remember that? And I said, well, ask me where my car keys are. I have no idea. So that's how my brain works. And it's not a healthy way to live, but damn it, this is the life we've chosen.
If they haven't already, one day our wives will have a conversation about that exact fact.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's it's a distorted way of living to have all this kind of semi-useless information, and yet in everyday life it prevents you to function certain ways, but that's just what we've been given, and that's what we're working with. All right, we are working the boss with the mighty tones of the boss himself, the godfather of soul, James Brown. Yes, sir. With the robe in front of a hot tub, JB kicking the boss. Okay. Maybe we can pump up Mad Dog JB just a little. I need a little more inspiration. Tell him and the band to crank it up just a tad so I can feel like the boss is... I'm channeling my inner James Brown. Joey Aguilar of Tennessee, 24-36, 371, 4 touchdowns. I get it. They lost the game. Not because of him. He's been terrific this year. And I mean, nobody is longing for Nico in Knoxville anymore. Not at all. They are... Did we lose the Godfather?
Perhaps we did.
Did we not pay the bill? Did we not pay James Brown's handlers? Oh, goodness. All right, well, I will continue nevertheless. Joey Aguilar, he was boss-like in a tough loss to Georgia against a guy who was also boss-like, and one of our listeners pointed out correctly, Gunnar Stockton still has not thrown a pick. Tell you what he has done. He's put up a hell of a game in a win against Tennessee on the road. 23 of 31, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He also runs the ball well. I said this on a couple of shows that you and I are involved in, JC, last week. If Georgia did this, if they went on the road and pulled that off, I'm going ahead and it's like, here's my chips on the table. I'm going Georgia to win the SEC again until they prove me wrong. Like, they weren't even that good last year and they won it. Maybe this year they're actually a little bit better. And if you look at some of the other teams that we thought would be outstanding, Texas, no. Bama, no. LSU, The safe pick is just trust Kirby Smart to pull it off. Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah, I agree. I want to say this. Tennessee's worry about receiver, don't worry about it anymore. Chris Brazzell, the Tulane transfer, 6'5".
Yeah.
Great game. Braylon Staley, who's from South Carolina, fast, smaller guy. Had nine receptions, and then Mike Matthews, the former 5-star guy, is coming along too. They've got Josh Heupel's got the pieces in place. Finally, they solved the riddle of the Georgia defense too.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, even though they lost the game, that Georgia's defense had been kryptonite for Tennessee. Tennessee's offense got the job done. That was not the problem. There was a hell of a 4th down conversion. Stockton throws the ball where only the receiver can catch it. It still was a hell of a catch. That sets up the game-tying score. Then they have to get the 2-point conversion. Then they win it in overtime. Just clutch play after clutch play. Really, really good game in Knoxville. So a weird thing happened in Oxford before their matchup with Arkansas. Initially, Austin Simmons was not on the SEC-required injury report. Then all of a sudden, the news is coming out, the Pete Thamels of the world, like, well, he might not even play. Undisclosed injury. And sure enough, he did not start. Trinidad Chambliss. There's a name you didn't have on your bingo card going into this season. He's the backup QB. He's a portal guy, so it's not like he's a true freshman. He comes in, goes 21 of 29, 353 yards, a touchdown, no picks. He also ran the ball well. He's another lefty. Ole Miss has 2 lefties at quarterback. And he was terrific. Taylon Green would be dominating the conversation yesterday and today had Arkansas pulled this off. They had a late fumble that certainly wasn't Green's fault. Listen to what Green did. On the road, 22 of 35, 305 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no picks. He ran for another 115 yards on 14 carries for a touchdown. Both quarterbacks accounted for over 400 total yards and no turnovers. That's boss-like performances, JC. That's big time.
Absolutely. Notre Dame better get their defense right. Although Arkansas has one of these ill-scheduled road games at Memphis this weekend, but they got Notre Dame coming to Fayetteville in 2 weeks in what I'm calling the Lou Holtz Bowl, because he coached both places. But
yes, he did.
Notre Dame better watch out because we talked about how they could get to the playoff. It could be over then because Arkansas, Bobby Petrino, Taylon Green, the way they're running offense right now, they're really good, and Notre Dame has not been good defensively. So. They may be calling the Hogs here in a couple of weeks against the Irish.
They might definitely be doing that. This guy's no longer under the radar. Haynes King, quarterback, Georgia Tech. He's special, man. I don't know where they would be without him. There's nothing else about Georgia Tech's offense really scares me, but he is a special, special player. Of course, the former Aggie always seems to be nicked up with injuries, but man, when he's healthy, 20 of 28, 211 yards through the air, 25 carries, 103 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And every defensive coordinator, he's at the top of the scouting reports. Like, all we got to do is stop Haynes King, or at least limit him, and we win the game. Well, nobody seems to stop him. He helps lead Georgia Tech to a 24-21 victory over the 1-2 Clemson Tigers.
Jimbo Fisher, man. There was a reason he loved Haynes King. Remember when Haynes King was starting for them and everybody's like, why? Well, he was that wasn't a good system fit. Jimbo's system wasn't that good for him, but Jimbo knew he was good and knew what he had in between the chest, and they use him. He's tough. And Georgia Tech, like you said, on a glide path to perhaps get back to the ACC championship game. Brent Key, tremendous coaching job so far there at Georgia Tech.
Don't think Brent Key is in a hurry to leave, but his name is going to be coming up for bigger jobs pretty soon. I think that's almost a given. Some under the radar guys, because they don't get as much conversation. Iowa State's 4-0. Rocco Becht just goes out there and makes winning plays. He's not going to have Heisman numbers, 14 to 25, 265, a touchdown, no picks. Dude's a warrior, though. Utah, Devin Dampier, they got a big matchup with Texas Tech this week in Salt Lake City. Dampier throws for 230, 2 touchdowns. He's been a difference maker there. Speaking of Texas Tech, they've got a young man named Baron Morton, the quarterback out of Eastland, Texas. He has been lighting it up. He was terrific. 23 of 35, 464, and 4 touchdowns in a win over Oregon State. And while everybody is talking about Bo Pribula of Missouri, the quarterback, the real story there, they continue to get running backs that make a big difference. This kid out of Oma, Mississippi. You ever been to Oma, Mississippi, JC?
No.
I haven't either. I don't even know where it is. But apparently they grow good running backs there, because Ahmad Hardy, a sophomore, who's averaging 7.7 yards a carry, all he did, now I get it, it's Louisiana. We'll see what he does against a much better South Carolina defense on Saturday. 22 carries, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns for Mr. Hardy.
He's the truth, dude. I watched him against Kansas, and he's not only like fast and breakaway, he's hard to bring down too.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks knew that about him in Louisiana. It was at Louisiana Monroe last year, but I think he popped off 1,000+ yards. Don't quote me on that, but his stats were really good, and they won some games there that maybe they shot like their coach. I think he's Brian Vincent, or Vincent's his last name at Monroe, but. And then he's, like a lot of good G5 players got in the portal, and Missouri got him. And, they're on a roll with that. Last year they had Noel from App State and Marcus Carroll from Georgia State that was really good. And that's a big – you need a good back in that offense. They run a lot of outside zone, a lot of power and stuff like that. So he's the next guy, and certainly watch out if you're the SEC for this guy.
Yeah, he's not Cody Schrader from a Division II school, but it's still a very good story because, let's be honest, we don't watch a whole lot of Louisiana Monroe football, even on a Sun Belt Wednesday night. and he is looking the part over there in Como. I mentioned Ty Simpson, 24 of 29, 382, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Look at his numbers the last couple weeks. They're Madden-like. He's pitching perfect games. He's not the reason they lost the Florida State game. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a pretty good-looking player. Ty Simpson of Alabama. And finally, you mentioned him earlier, JC, Mario Craver. Wide receiver, Texas A&M, 5'9", 165-pound water bug. 7 grabs, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, an average of 29.6 yards per reception. Good-looking player over there at College Station.
Did your mic come unplugged, Mike? Because that happens to me sometimes. And I think that'll do us for the boss. You've got mute hit. Unmute yourself.
Live show. If anybody doubts that we do this live,
yeah, we do it live. Do it live.
This microphone. This system is great, but if you so much as breathe on the cable that connects to the microphone, it will disconnect.
I agree. I have the same mic.
Yeah,
I remember I asked you.
Yes,
and I got the same microphone, and you're right. That connection's.
I don't know why they can't come up with a better system there, but who am I to doubt the fine people at Shore? Okay. Group 5 John in the house. He's back. Took a little hiatus. This is his top 5 Group 5 teams with 3 games under their belt. Number 5, 3-0 Navy. Number 4, 3-0 the Fighting Dan Mullen UNLV Running Rebels. Number 3, Memphis. Number 2, USF. As I mentioned these teams, think of their head coaches because several of them are going to be names for bigger jobs here soon. USF, yeah, they lost to Miami. I don't care. I mean, they're still, to me, their resume is the best of any Group 5 team so far with wins over Boise and, of course, Florida. And number 1, he still has the green wave of Tulane. Speaking of coaches that are going to be on radars, wins over Northwestern, at South Alabama, and Duke, 34-27. G5 quarterbacks off to a great start. Jake Retzlaff of Tulane. He's thrown for 522. He's run for 288. Byram Brown of USF. He's thrown for 747. He's rushed for 111. And Blake Horvath of Navy, still around. 348 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. They do throw it at Navy now. And 245 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns. That is your Group 5 John report. Looking out for the little man, not just elitists around here. Just living in our little Power 4 world and ignoring the rest of the nation. No, we don't do that, JC and Morgan. We love everybody putting forth their effort. Blood, sweat, and tears. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like they do in the Big Ten and the SEC.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love to hear some G5 John. And what a sweet win for Tulane after Duke took their quarterback.
Yeah. Right?
That's got to be a tough pill to swallow.
In your face. In the face.
In the face. By the way, South Carolina fans in the chat on chat row. This shows general college football. We've got loads of Gamecock talk coming up in 20 minutes on Inside the Gamecock.
On another show at part
4
of the
straight
Sports
hours.
Network.
So
yes. Yeah,
be patient. Just hang with us on Tuesday mornings. I know there's a couple of you in there and all that good stuff. But that's going to be well covered here on Chief Sports.
Yes. Daddy-O wants to know better overall all-purpose or self-rising flour. That is the question that's on the top of everybody's mind, Jason. Well, when you're baking, as you've been known to bake a cake and muffins or 2 or 3, what do you go with?
Baking, man, I can't even turn on our oven. It's just going to be full transparency here. I can make a casserole, but I don't use flour. So,
Toucan Sam always comes up with we have drifted away from this, and sometimes it's just hard to fit everything we want to into this show because we try to keep it under 90 minutes. Fiver Dimer, for those new to the show, this is a movie reference. Fiver, you've seen it at least 5 times. Dimer at least 10. Neither, obviously, it's just not rewatchable. You're not a big fan of it. He throws out just 2 for me dime pieces. Glengarry Glen Ross, come on. Rounders. Glengarry Glen Ross is one of the best written, Mammoth David Mamet, I believe.
He's David Mamet. Yeah.
Yeah, he is just a rock star. He also wrote the movie About Last Night, the original, with Rob Lowe and Jim Belushi.
A fantastic playwright.
Fantastic playwright. Fascinating individual. Yeah, Glenn Ross. The acting in that movie with Lemon and Baldwin and Harris and Spacey, it's ridiculously good. It's a kind of movie that does not get made today. You know, it doesn't fit, doesn't check all the boxes, but it's just outstanding. And Rounders, it's a pretty simple movie about poker. It's not supposed to be good, but it is extremely rewatchable. Ed Norton is terrific, as he is in almost everything. Weird guy. People say he's hard to work with, JC. But he is an outstanding actor who gives a great performance as Worm. Good title, Worm.
Yes, both of those are between Fiber and Dahmer for me. I agree with everything you said there.
All right, Sam, thank you for chiming in on that. It's a good way to say this is the end of the show, but not the end of JC and Morgan, because we'll be back next Tuesday, JC, on a number of platforms.
Absolutely. Get us on Spotify, Apple on podcast version, also Chief Sports app, collegefootballforever.com. At number 4, Ever College Football. Ever CFB on X, and then Forever spelled out CFB on Instagram. Those accounts have been growing, so you guys have been paying attention. And great. You know, keep us going with the ratings on podcasting and stuff like that. And we're on iHeart as well. So check it all out, JC and Morgan.
JC and Morgan back with you next Tuesday for the Mad Dog, Phil Mullinax, behind the scenes, for the Godfather of Soul, James Brown, and for JC. This is Mike saying so long. We'll see you next week on another installment of JC and Morgan.
We're talking football.